Hello and good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, whenever you're tuning in to watch this. Welcome to another episode of the Creative Coffee Cafe. Now, we're going to start things off a little differently this week. I am super excited and totally nervous as well. Instead of just talking with one person for this fantastic show, I've invited back some of the previous guests from the last 9 episodes. So today we have, I currently have 3 sitting in the lobby waiting to come in and chat with you all. And there's supposed to be one more coming in later, so we'll get her to come in when she shows up. So today's Creative Coffee Cafe, basically the whole premise of these Creative Coffee Cafes is just to sit down with other real people doing really awesome stuff, chatting about marketing and how we can all better ourselves in storytelling and sharing ourselves and growing our businesses in a feel-good, natural, and authentic way. Hey, Ray, welcome for joining. So I'm going to bring these ladies in, and we're going to get the discussion started. This is all new, so hang with us if we have some tech issues, but I promise you this is going to be a fantastic show, and we'll start bringing them in. There we go. Hi, ladies. Hello. Hi. So here we go, Foursquare. Welcome again to Karina and to Karina's boy.
Still popping it out.
And to Tabitha as well. Thank you, ladies, for joining me today. Oh, can everybody hear me? Is everybody good?
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So I wanted to get this show started by, let's just kind of do a quick little round circle about, what's been going on and what sort of happened maybe since you've been on the show or anything like that. I want to know what you're working on and what you're doing. Who wants to go first? Don't all jump up at once.
I'll start.
Okay.
So for those who remember or don't remember, I'm a composer and I write brand audio for businesses and for businesses and for podcasts, and I also write video game music, and so I've just been doing a lot more of that.
And she's a busy mom.
I'm a busy mom. Today's my daughter's last day of kindergarten, so it's almost summer break for us. So.
Yeah.
I'm not done with it. It doesn't matter. You don't need to cry. I'm sorry. So let him have a turn, and then he'll give it back to you when he's done. So, yeah, just been writing a lot of podcast music and brand audio for people. I'm starting work on a music for a children's maze app game, so that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, you should certainly know a little bit about children.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Amy, what are you up to? I see you're getting back into CrossFit or something like that.
Yeah, personally, I've decided to really focus on my health. And I'm actually finding that as I focus on my health and wellness, my business actually really starts to pick up as well. So it's a wonderful balance to be able to be at the gym, working out, and then come back to your phone and be like, I just got 2 referrals. So I'm continuing to take care of myself, take care of my business, and I'm working one-on-one with a handful of healers and coaches right now. And I don't know, when I work with them, it's so much fun. And I just finished up with someone yesterday, and I feel like I'm, letting my little birdies fly into the social media world to share their goodness with everyone. So it's a really gratifying process to be able to, teach and empower people how to share what they're talking about. So yeah. I'm having a great time.
Yeah. And for those that don't remember, when Amy was on, she was teaching us and showing us how to speak our clients' language, right? Mm-hmm. So that when they see your messages or hear your stories, they're already ready to say yes. They totally understand what you're saying, and they know that they want to work with you. So that's really great.
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. And Miss Tabitha, you're one of my first guests.
Yeah.
That I started pulling from the guerrilla group there.
It's fun times.
Yes, it is. So what's going on in your world right now?
I cut my hair. I've been doing a lot of creating social media calendars for people that have never had one before. So kind of teaching them that you can make all your content ahead of time and not have to worry about it. So that's been my big thing lately.
Awesome. All right. So I really want to know, what are you guys doing right now in storytelling? Like, so we've been talking and preaching about storytelling and sharing the story and finding new and better ways to connect instead of being so salesy on social media and stuff all the time. So, what's everybody kind of currently doing? Like, what kind of stories are you sharing, or what sort of things, I guess, are you doing right now that you find is resonating with your audience? Karina, you want to kick off with that?
Sure. So I have been working a lot with a local organization. It's called UDEN. It's the Utah Digital Entertainment Network. And their purpose is really cool, is to gather digital creators of all different sorts. And I'll tell you later. And to get them together and help encourage collaborations and working together and just building the field of media and entertainment here where we are, which is so awesome. And so I've started writing blogs for them, which has been really enjoyable for me, even though it's really out of my comfort zone, because I can write, but I have long drawn out sentences and I'm having to bring it in like really short and succinct, and that's not normally what I do. But being able to take my voice and my experience as a composer, which is not very well known to digital entertainment, even though everyone admits that they need music, they don't participate in that themselves very often, which makes sense. And so being able to take that and find things that are useful for other people in that field, not just for music, but being able to talk to everyone from computer programmers to designers to social media people to all of these, it's such a broad range of people, and being able to find things of value for each of them has been really enjoyable for me recently.
Okay, so how have you been kind of using some of your storytelling knowledge or whatever to translate that into a blog?
Yeah, so that's a panda bear. So being able to, that one is a bald eagle. Sorry. Being able to say,
you gotta know between the difference between a panda bear and a bald eagle.
I didn't know which one he was pointing to. I'm sorry. Being able to take something that I use in music. So example, the one that I most recently did was about mindfulness, and mindfulness can go across all factors. You cannot do this right now. You need to go to your room. That's a water buffalo. No, go figure it out in your room, please. And being able to take something that I use and say, this is how I use it with my music. Being able to take something and accept how it is and to not judge it. Because if you judge and label your art, you're no longer able to progress in making that art. And so then saying, this is how I apply it to me. This is how I think it could be applied in your area of expertise. And how do we help encourage each other to be okay with where we are now? Because that is what mindful practice is all about, is just saying, I accept where I am now. I might not want to stay here, but this is where it is, so I have to be okay with that. And then not needing to label yourself as, oh, I'm a terrible person, I'm a messy person, I'm a slacker, removing all those labels and then progressing forward towards that. And so it's been a lot of me taking how I am able to progress in my creations and then help other people broaden their perspectives about what is possible for them, no matter what type of content you're creating.
I'm guessing both Amy and Tabs would have something to say about that. Amy, I see you shaking your head.
I'm actively listening.
Well, that's kind of your realm, though, right? Like,
prior to, or part of the tools in my toolbox are, I'm a meditation teacher and a yoga teacher as well. So I practice mindfulness and teach mindfulness it's just part of who I am at this point. So it's a part of my teaching style and part of how I help empower and work on the mindset of my clients. So yeah, I can relate to everything that you're saying for sure.
Awesome. Okay, Tabs. No, I guess, sorry, we just skipped Amy. I'm trying to keep all in the same. Awesomeness overload.
Who's going next? Is it me?
It's
Amy.
And the question is, how am I using storytelling in my business with my clients?
What are you doing right now with storytelling, and like what's working for you? And because I mean, I'm following you, so I know, but maybe not everybody's kind of following you. And
well, what I find is that our vulnerabilities is where the connection lies. So within storytelling, we're honest storytelling. We're providing an opportunity to connect with people. And sometimes that connection isn't going to come directly from our business lives and what we do in that realm at first. I really work, I am diligent at showing up as my full self on Facebook. And if that means that, I'm getting back into shape and I'm doing CrossFit, or, I'm doing yoga in the park, or, I share about, struggles that I've had in the past, and saying yes to yourself and your business is really important. I find that sharing who I am is just as important in building relationships in business, whether I'm talking about doing a CrossFit workout or whether I'm talking about, helping you connect with your clients using, your message. So I find that, storytelling is really kind of like, it's my mode. It's the on button, having been a teacher for 15 years. That's where I can explain a concept to you by telling you a story about, something similar that you might be able to relate to. So I find that storytelling at this point is just part of how I show up. It's not always a strategy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not really how, I don't want people to feel like storytelling is something like it's a new concept, because I think if you've ever posted anything on Facebook ever, you've been telling a story. Maybe it was a 3-line story. Like, if you're like me and you reheat your coffee for the 3rd time and then go to the next morning and open up the microwave and see that your frickin' coffee cup is still sitting in there, like that's a story.
Yeah, I think daily goings on. I don't know the grammar for that one. Whoops. I think that we oftentimes when we're online and we're working online behind a computer screen or have our own business, we feel disconnected. We can feel a sense of isolation, and I think that that's false. It's a story that we tell ourselves, and through sharing our 3-line story about our warming up our coffee 5 times and then leaving it in the microwave. I mean, who hasn't done that? Like, I've done that like a bazillion times. I think it's showing people that we are the same. We have these things in common, and that's really building a foundation for trust and, knowing each other. And, oftentimes people will pop into my messenger and say, hey, I'm ready to work with you. And I'm like, wow, you haven't liked any of my posts or commented or anything. But it's that sense of showing up as a whole person that allows someone to connect with you. In maybe one person will connect with me with CrossFit and another person will connect with me over yoga. It's still like multiple opportunities to get to know each other.
Right. Yeah. So don't be afraid to kind of blend that stuff a little bit, right? Especially when you're solopreneurs. Like, I don't know, I think Tabitha too talks and works with a lot of people that they're one face in a business, right? So you kind of have to be careful. You don't want to be sharing so much, like too much personal information in that space, but you still need to open up the doors and show who these people are that work in this building to a certain degree. Like, what is the company culture? What do they spend time focusing on in the community, and like that kind of stuff. So that leads nicely into Miss Tabs' little moment here.
I often have said, and I think I said it on your interview too, is people think we're rock stars. So no matter who you are, you're a rock star because you have a life that's not like my life. and things like leaving the coffee cup in the microwave, I can relate to, but it's still not my life. Like when you post pictures of Canada, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. It looks cool there. You know, I can't be there, but I can vicariously live through Brooke. Yeah. So I try to do that myself. I try to remember that my life is not ordinary for most people. So, you know, not
everybody has a whole bunch of chickens. And
no, but I was just going to say, like, that could be a chore where I'm just like, get all the chickens out. I got to get them back in their run, you know, that kind of stuff. But people love it. So I enjoy sharing it, and it makes it easier for me. So those kind of little moments, you know, funny things that my son has said, or, you know, the dogs or the cats, or, you know, just like, oh my gosh, I'm painting another wall. Like those things are fun. And, you know, there's thousands of people who do what I do and what Brooke does and what Amy does and even what Karina does. But if somebody likes me, they're more likely to think of me when they're ready to have that thing that I'm doing.
That's right. That's right. So give some advice, or maybe we can start a conversation on like how businesses, I guess, who are in a position where they're representing multiple people can get into this more storytelling mode or build that culture. I think from what I'm seeing, the toughest thing is that sometimes the leaders of those businesses get it. Or maybe a few employees get it, but how do you like get everybody involved and being like, it's not boasting, it's not being sleazy, it's just like sharing what's going on behind these doors of like what we do, and I don't know, like that kind of stuff.
I think one of the biggest hurdles has been privacy. So I have some clients who are super, super private, and getting them to tell a story is harder because they think they have to share about their lives. I'm like, I don't care if it's just like, hey, today I went out and bought 50,000 widget things that need to make my jewelry things. Like, it just has to be some kind of story where I can relate to what's going on behind the scenes. And you don't have to show your face, and you don't have to give up your location or what's going on. Like, you can do it in a way that I'm still telling a story. Yeah. Much like, you know, I don't know exactly what the president is doing right now, but I know enough about his life to kind of guess what he's doing right now. You know, that kind of thing.
That's what we want to know.
I have quite a few guesses. Not appropriate for Facebook Live.
Well, any president. Doesn't matter if it's our current one. Any president. I don't know what the Queen is doing right now, but I have some guesses, you know, like, because I know enough about her in a general sense to say right now she's, you know, having tea or talking to some dignitary or something like that.
And like, it doesn't have to be cool to have like a little snapshot of that, right? Like
right.
A teacup or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like people like Amy and I, we're very good with sharing deeply and personally and whatever, but you don't have to share a story.
Yes.
I think a lot of how you are able to have those guesses is because you are aware of what they value, because whatever they share, it has to be connected to what they believe as a person and what they, you know, what they feel is part of them in order for that story to be meaningful and to actually translate from this is what I'm doing to this is what I can do for you or whatever. So I think when talking about getting an organization involved or just getting, even like I'm a solopreneur, but getting other people excited about what I do, which is how you build loyal customers, can only happen if I'm willing to open up and share what I believe as an entrepreneur, as a composer, as someone who wants to work with you and serve you and do what I do for you. You have to know why I want to do that, or you're not going to care, right? Yeah. So the way that we get people excited about it is about talking about our core beliefs, our core values, and why it is that we're doing what we're doing. So all of these little stories all relate to that. They aren't separate to themselves. It's not, if I just tell a little story that has absolutely nothing to do with my brand, no one's going to care. Or if they do, it doesn't matter. It doesn't help me build my brand. You have to be able to have all of these things relate to who I am as a brand or as a company or as an organization, because that's how you build relationships with people, is by letting them know who you really are, not just putting some fake story up and saying, this is to appease the masses, chick, you know? You don't want to just do that. It has to actually have a purpose for sharing in order to get people excited about what you're doing and for you to be excited with them, right? It's all about building a community.
Yeah, well, I've always been a firm believer that like people want to work with people, right? You want to work with the individuals. And so when you have a large amount of individuals that all work in one space, it's about sharing little stories about them or behind the scenes stuff. Or I love seeing like jokes and pranks and stuff happening in businesses and just people being people. And I feel like that allows me to feel like I know them, I understand them more, and that if what they're sharing aligns with my ideals and who the people that I want to work with, then I'm going to go there, right? And it's not about appeasing to the masses anymore. It's about appeasing to just your people.
Yeah, some of the best social media posts from my previous company were times where it was like, we're having donuts, or we're all looking at the clips, or we're, those kind of things help a lot. I mean, it seems really silly and fluff, but people really dig it.
That's right.
Well, and to kind of hop on that, I think that there's a difference in saying my values are fun, integrity, and respect for diverse people. Like, it's like no one gives a shit when you talk like that. But if you show that you have fun because you guys are going on you're taking the day off and you're going to ride roller coasters and you have a picture of you guys being like, on a roller coaster, like that's, if you can illustrate it in a story, in a picture, in something like that, as opposed to being like, and this is my formal, declaration of values, everyone. Like there's one style is more, appealing than the other, so if you can show who you are and what you believe in as opposed to telling people, then it's much better received.
Well, we don't all talk like that either, right? Like
no one talks like that. People think they have to because they think that there's a set of rules that say, I need to formally, introduce it, but the truth of the matter is that that's not true. Like there's multiple methods of sharing, and honestly, if you want more people in your company to be on board with that, I say make it a game, make it fun. Like, it can be a team building opportunity as opposed to just another chore or thing to check off on your to-do list.
Yeah, I can give an example. So the Ellicott City here in Baltimore area was flooded again, and the MAC Medics, which is a repair team, posted and said, if your iPhone or your computer was damaged in the new flooding, bring it here and we'll just charge you what Apple charges us. And it's like, they could say all day long they care about your community, but posting something like that was like, yes, you actually do care.
Yeah.
When you show how you do those things, you're building trust. When you just say it, that doesn't build trust. It's by continually acting the way you actually say you believe. That builds trust with those who might want to be with you or might want to work with you.
Yeah. I feel like I've had the conversations before with business owners where they're afraid to post some of that stuff though. Like, they were at a fundraising dinner and they, bought this at an auction or, like, you know what I mean? Like they were at different events and stuff. I feel like they're afraid to share that because to them it feels like bragging or something, but I really strongly disagree. I think if it's written in the right way and shown in the right way, it's just like, no, like we are these people who invest in our community and this is one of the ways that we give back and like that kind of thing. It's not bragging. It's not like, oh, I got lots of money. Look at this cool thing I bought.
I mean, if you, like you said, if you frame it the right way, you don't have to say how much you spent on it. It's more like we really appreciate our local, whatever it is, animal shelter. And therefore we went to the fundraiser. Yeah. And now this is hanging in the shop.
Exactly. All right. So where do we want to go from here, ladies? Let's see.
Well, I wanted to share a little bit about on this whole thing. Sometimes storytelling doesn't mean you're telling person stories, right? Sometimes it's your company is telling a story. So, for example, I know a lot of the big brands have been trying to inject a personality into their brand. So Wendy's is like slamming McDonald's, that they're still telling a story. There's not an actual person behind it. It's more like the brand is now telling a story. We're the people that slam you for having frozen burgers, that kind of thing.
Okay. So, yeah, and I can see how that could be somewhat difficult because it takes time to transition over from being one specific voice to another one, right? Mm-hmm. In my mind, whenever I'm working for a business or whatever, I'm always speaking on behalf of that business. So it's kind of odd to me, actually, that McDonald's would go from
Wendy's,
would go from that to a specific person when they're kind of speaking on behalf of lots of people. But I don't know. I guess I have to look to see how they're doing.
Yeah, you have to. It's the brand has it. So the same thing happened with AMC theaters. Once got into a Twitter war with Oreo. Oreo had posted, "It's totally okay to sneak Oreos into the movie theater." And AMC tweeted back and said, "Not cool, bro. Like that. That's not a person.
Yeah,
it's the brand having more of a storytelling thing." And so then there was a back and forth, and at one point the Oreo guy put Oreos on his eyes. It was like this with the Oreos on his eyes. So, it's again, like I go back to the personality thing. Like if you are a local small business, you can have fun with that kind of like, still telling a story. Like, would you rather have your internet service by somebody 5,000 miles away on the phone, or would you like to have Jess here answer the phone for you? Right. That kind of stuff can be, you're not telling Jess's story, but you're talking about your business in a storytelling way.
That's right.
It sounds like personalizing it is really attractive.
Yeah, I think it is. It's what it all boils down to, because even when you're trying to sell something, because everybody's in business to make money when you're selling something. So there's going to be those posts where you're like, oh, we do have this on sale or that kind of stuff. Because we were talking about that before we went live. Like, that's sort of it's sometimes tricky to go from that traditional way of thinking of, blast this sale, come get this limited time offer, like all that stuff. But I feel like you can still do that and still bring in personality and like, maybe not like a full blown story, but I don't know, like you can just talk about, hey, we've had lots of customers who've really loved this lately, or, tons of people are loving this right now. And, better make sure you come in and get it before the sale ends on this day. Like, instead of just saying, this ends on this day, come get it. Like, I don't know.
I think that after thinking about it a while, I think that most people don't go to school for marketing, right? So the most marketing training any of us have is like marketing yourself when you go on an interview. So people think of it as like this very formalized, like if I'm marketing, therefore I must be formal and I must be on point and I must have all the right answers, because that's the only marketing training we ever get if we're not a professional. And so that can come across in your posts and it can sound very didactic. And it's like, here's a sale, here's another sale, here's another sale. Oh, by the way, did you know I sell this? And it's boring. None of us want to follow a page that just does that, unless we really, really love someone. But, like, it's not exciting. But if it's more like
how much you love them, you're going to tune them out because that just gets to be like a broken record.
Right. But it's the same thing that happens in interviews. 10% of what you know is what gets you your job in your interview. 90% of it is how much I liked you and how much I think you'd be fun to work with you. Like, and the same thing with other businesses. So if you can tell stories, even small ones that are like, I really encourage a lot of my people to explain why they got into their business. Mm-hmm. I love social media. It's my passion. So my post should talk about why I got into social media versus dog washing. And even if it is dog washing, I love dogs. I wanted to be around dogs all the time. I didn't want to sit at an office job. Like, that's a story that will connect to people.
Yeah.
And that passion really is attractive. People are attracted to passion. People are attracted to excitement, genuinely so. You can pretend to be excited and, oh my God, this thing is so cool. But if you don't actually feel it, like if there isn't that genuine like passion behind it, people can smell that from a mile away and it stinks,
Yeah.
And generally, passion is not in sales. Like, if I have something and I put it on sale, it's usually not because I'm passionate about it. It's because I want to make more money. Generally, right? Sales have a place. They have a time and a place. But if the only reason people are following you and love you is because of all of the sales that you're posting, they are not a loyal customer. They're just there because you're the cheapest, not because you are the best for them, and not because they're part of your tribe, just because you are the best money deal. And so as soon as somebody else has the better money deal, then they're going to switch to them. And that's not what we want. We're not wanting until our prices change customers. We want people who believe in what we're doing the way that we believe what we're doing. We want people that we will be able to help the best because they are the perfect person for us to help, right? Everybody has someone, even though there are hundreds of people who do what I do and do what each of us do, the world still needs what I do because nobody else is me.
Right.
And nobody else has my background and my story and my passion and my experiences. And because of that, I believe that there are certain people that I am better able to serve and that I am meant to serve just because we are more compatible with our backgrounds and our experiences and our belief systems or whatever else. Each voice is needed because each person needs to be served in a way, deserves to be served in a way, I think, that best meets their needs, not just best meets their wallet or their bank account. Because we don't want to just serve their bank account. We want to serve them as people because, like you said, it's all about people. People are the point of why we're in business. Almost everyone is in business because at one point or another they wanted to help people. Sometimes businesses forget that. It can be a really easy thing to forget, especially the bigger you get or the more money you're making, because then it just all comes down to whatever the bottom line is. But what this conversation is about is how storytelling helps us remember that the bottom line is always about people, the people on the side of the business and the people on the side of who we're serving and our customers.
Exactly. And once you build those strong relationships with the people, regardless of what's going on economically around you, the people that have that relationship with you will support you in every way that they can, not just, like you said, not just because you're the best price at that moment or whatever. But
right. Even when the price is rising because different things are changing, or even through a rebrand or whatever might be happening, people will stay with you no matter what the price is. And that's what we're all searching for, I think.
Yeah, we want loyal fans and followers, not just the people that are there for a quick fix or because you're giving something away on your page, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if any of you watched the interview last week with Dustin Belvin, but he was...
I love Dustin.
I know. He's
a storyteller, let me tell you.
Oh my gosh, is he ever. He's awesome. And like, he was basically going on a little bit of a fun rant where he's like, nobody sells fucking Dustin. Like, nobody sells me. Nobody sells Karina. Nobody sells Tabitha. Nobody sells Amy. Like, and so we all have to have a little bit of that in the back of our mind when we're going forward. It's like, no, if you're the business owner, then you are the lead of your company. Even if you're an employee, you are a piece of the puzzle. You are representing the company as a whole. Like, you gotta embrace that and try to share that with people, because no one office is the same as any other office, right? Because of the people and the beautiful puzzle that, or mosaic of all of those people comes together. And yeah.
You also have to tell stories about yourself, even if you are an employee. If you don't tell stories about yourself, nobody knows who you are and why you're there. So it's really hard, I think, especially for women, to be like, I'm a writer. Like, the more you say it, the more people hear it, the more they absorb it and they hear it and they believe it. And again, it can go back to that, like, it sounds like bragging, but it's like, no, I that's who I am. And you need to know that I'm on this team because I'm a great writer.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of it comes down to mindset and visibility. And with my clients, it's not just about, learning your client's language and writing an offer that they say yes to. It's about then having the confidence to be visible and to keep showing up and to keep talking about what you do, and to not just do it once a week, but infuse it into everything that you do all the time. That's the piece that can be a bit bumpy at first. Because if you're not used to kind of putting yourself out there in that way, it can be kind of a shock, because you have all this fear, like, are they going to reject me? Are they not going to like me? And we are putting ourselves out there as people. So we have to be willing to, put ourselves out there, knowing full well that not everyone's going to resonate with us. Not everybody's going to even like us. And that's totally fine and okay, because it's actually bringing my people closer to me faster if the people that aren't resonating with me are getting out of the way. Mm-hmm. And learning that and then practicing it can be very, very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I guess it's one of the, I don't know, maybe you guys can all like tap into this a little bit too, but I recently had a conversation with somebody about contests. People love doing contests on social media. I have a love-hate relationship with them, because I feel like they have to be done in a specific way so that you're always attracting the right people to you through your contests, instead of attracting a ton of people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, especially when you're giving away something, right? Because people just want to follow you or be a part of it because you're giving something away. So does anybody have anything that they want to add about that? Like, what are your thoughts on these contests? And I guess, what are some ways that if we want to inject those things into our business, like, how would you like to see people do it, or how would you do it so that it felt authentic and you were still able to attract the right people?
I think contests should be for rewarding the people that are following you. It should not be like a marketing for new people. It should be rewarding the people that are there already. If new people come, that's a great side effect, because, hey, Tabitha loves whatever thing you do, and she shared it, and you're like, oh my gosh, Tabitha loves it, so I'm going to check it out. But the major thing I find for contests is it should reward your fans. So either they're on your email list already and you're giving something away, or something like that. It should be tribe building versus marketing.
Yeah. That's very good. I think more people don't, or I think most people don't think of it that way. And to be honest, it took you to maybe say that to kind of go, yeah, that's exactly what it means to be for me.
Well, I think we focus so much on getting new people that we forget that our best audience is the people that already are here. So, if you bring them all in, and then it's the same thing with like phone companies. Phone companies drive me crazy because they give these great deals to new customers. And I'm like, but I've been here for 10 years. What do I get?
And I don't know if it works down there, but we've done this in the past here. We have two companies that compete for our business all the time here locally. And what you can do is you can phone up your company and be like, hey, so-and-so is offering this to new people. Can you match it, or I'm going to leave?
Right.
Or you can say, you're giving new customers this price. Like, I've actually done that before, and you'd be surprised how many times they will actually give it to you because they don't want to lose you as a customer.
I've done that too, but it's like, why don't you give me something for staying for so long? Like, why isn't there a reward for me being loyal?
Yeah, you shouldn't have to like track them down and say, where's my good thing? Where's my good thing? Match it. They should do it proactively. Oh my God, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, people would be so happy.
What does that tell you right now? That people aren't doing that. People aren't proactively going to their current fan base or their current clients and being like, hey, we think you're awesome. Here's this. Like, right? So perhaps we need to do a little bit more of that.
YouTubers do this really well. Yeah. So YouTubers will do it with people that have commented a lot. They'll be like, you know what, I've noticed 355 has been commenting all the time, so I'm going to give him a personal shout out and send me a message and I'll send you something swaggy, like that. Like, that's the kind of thing that I think business owners need to do a little bit more of.
Yeah.
Patreon artists do it really well too. I mean, part of that is built into Patreon anyways because of the tier levels of the support that people are giving them. But the majority of Patreon artists that I've seen that do really, really well are doing it in addition to the rewards that people are paying for. They say these people are already paying for these rewards, but I'm going to give them something extra because I love and I support them and they're supporting me, and I want to make sure that they know that I'm grateful for the support they're giving me, right? It comes down to this massive feeling of gratitude for who is helping you be in business. And there's certain companies that have done that well over the years, but it is not a normal thing, I think, which is why we're all so wowed by this idea. Like, why don't we say thank you to our fans in a genuine way that matches the way that we feel about our own business?
Yeah, that's really good. Thanks, ladies. I knew there'd be some really good golden nuggets that come out of this conversation, right? Because I don't know, and I love doing this. I love sitting down with, more than one person and just kind of shooting the shit and talking about different things, because that's when sometimes these ideas come to life. Like, I'm now already starting to think about how I can maybe do something like that for myself or my clients and start,
Well, and I would also just to add on to that is referral, rewarding people for referrals and things like that. I found that is like gold times 1 million, it's like officially thanking someone and acknowledging them for their, recommendation of you is really like the best compliment out there. So I find that doing that on a client to client basis, is also like really, really beneficial for building relationships and loyalty and, just saying thank you,
Hey, so I have a question for you then, Amy, because, all of us, I guess, are more service-based than we are product-based, right? Mm-hmm. So what are some of the ways, what are some of the ways that you are going back to these referral people and showing them genuinely that you've appreciated them? Like, are you giving them some of your free time? Or are you just directly acknowledging to them, hey, I really appreciate you? Or are you actually, you know what I mean? Like,
both. Both. I'm actively appreciating them and acknowledging them, and I'm also I'm giving them extra special thank yous of my time in whatever way that they need it. So because each of my clients is kind of in a different spot, so I don't blanket give them all the same thing, but I try to be very, very thoughtful as to what would benefit this person the most right now. Right. And I say, I would like to, say thank you for these referrals that I've been getting from you. How about this? And usually, it's not the same for everyone. It's specific. And I think that in that specificity, that person, again, it's building relationships. It's saying, I hear you, I see you, I know where you are. You've grown so much. So what you might have needed a couple months ago isn't the same as to what you might need now. And it's just furthering the relationship. My investment of time and thought into crafting something special as a thank you for one individual, I hate to use the word, but the ROI on that is like amazing. And it's a relationship, you know? So it's not just like, more money in the bank. It's more like this relationship is growing further and further. And my best ideas about my next program or what I'm going to offer next, it always comes from what my clients need. So it's opening up a further communication so that, they're always telling me, and I'm always observing, like, what would be the next step for them in creating something new. So without them, I wouldn't have a business. So creating those relationships is number one for me.
Yeah, I write a lot of thank you notes. I write so many thank you notes. Like, I'm constantly writing thank you notes. And sometimes I don't have their address. Like, every once in a while, if I have worked with a client multiple times, I'll ask if it's okay for me to have their address, that I can actually send them a physical thank you note. Or especially when I work with businesses locally, that's really easy to get their address. And just sending a physical thank you note in the mail, it's amazing how excited these people get. Right. So excited when they get that. I don't know. People get so excited, and it's so funny. some of them will even just email me back, I just got your letter in the mail. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. And that is just so exciting for me that it is making them so happy to get that. And if I'm not able to send a physical thank you note, then I craft something out and make it look nice instead of just text that I can send through Facebook or through email. Make it look like it's not just an on the fly, oh, hey, thanks for the referral, blah, 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 but making it specific and making it matter to that person. Just like everything that we do in our business with our service, with our products, with whatever we're doing, making it matter to that person is the most important thing. And I like thinking that I'm a service-oriented business because I help you figure out the emotional connections that you want to create through the music. But in the end, I'm giving you a product. I'm giving you a piece of music that you will be using. And so I feel like a lot of times my service that I'm trying to offer is the thank you for using my product, because I don't have to offer the service part of what I do. I could just write the music and be like, okay, see ya, here's your music, have fun. But that's not what I want to create.
Customer service side of things, right? But
yeah.
But I mean, as business owners, we spend so much time looking at, well, what kind of advertising or what kind of money can I spend to, attract more people or better my relationships or whatever. And a lot of things that we're talking about right here cost like $0, just your time and basically showing up as, like you said, like a good human and just doing what good humans do, which is talking to people.
It's funny how so much of it comes down to that. It surprises me often. I'm like, well, this is easy. I could just be a good person. And people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm like, wow, have people really not been treating you like a person or what?
Yeah. And I mean, it can be done through this whole internet social media platform. How hard is it to grab your phone and record a quick 1 to 2 minute thank you message and send that video to them or whatever, right? Like, it's customized to them. It's not generic. It's not whatever. It's I've had that done before for me too. Actually, when I signed up for something, I think it was like some sort of a challenge. The welcome message I got back from that was a personalized video from the person saying, "Oh, hey, Brooke, thanks for joining my challenge, blah, blah, blah." And then, so that means that every single person that joined that challenge got an individual thing like that. And it stood out to me because it wasn't the generic canned copy sort of feel.
And it just makes you feel so good. Like when people make the effort to thank you,
the marketing
gratitude just makes you feel so good.
Yeah. But the marketing side of me was going, how did she pull that off and automate that? Right? Yeah, exactly. Well,
that did remind me that we didn't mention that part of your storytelling can be talking about your clients as well. So if you have customers, like one of my favorite posts ever was somebody talked about how their customer came in every week and was there every week and buying yarn every week. And so finally the lady asked her why she was buying all this yarn. And she's like, oh, I knit hats for, NICU babies. And, those kind of stories can be great too.
Yeah, exactly. I actually know somebody who runs a business, and she posts on her personal page these little stories of these interactions she has with her clients, and she never says who the clients are, right? She's more of like a retail style outlet. And I look forward to reading those because they're always hilarious. So that's something too that you can do. Like, you don't have to call out these people, but just talk about something funny that happened that day, or make fun of yourself if you did something stupid. I'm really good at that. If people are going to laugh at me, they might as well laugh with me.
And when we ask people for testimonials about what we do, what we're really asking them is to share their story about what it was like to receive our service or product or working with us, or how things were at the beginning from working with us to how it is at the end. And a lot of times I'll ask my clients if it's possible, instead of asking them to write a testimonial, I'm like, would you please just write me your story about how you feel this whole thing went. Like just, and if I can share it, awesome. If not, I still just want to hear your side of the story, because I know how my side of the story went. I think it was awesome because I'm amazing, right? Or whatever it is. But so many times I'm surprised at the things that meant the most to them in our interactions, that it wasn't just how the music sounded. It was this one little mini conversation that we had beforehand. And let's be quiet, okay? And what was it that meant the most to them is usually not what I was planning on being the most awesome thing. And so knowing that from their point of view and hearing their side of the story is so crucial for me to be able to continue giving what is of most value and most importance to the people that I want to work with.
I agree. I just watched a video yesterday. It was a TED Talk video. I don't know if it's going viral right now or whatever, but a couple people within my realm had shared it. So I took the time to watch it. And it was, he shared a story. Again, he's teaching through the power of story. And he had met somebody who was starting their first day. They were really nervous and really scared. And they thought in that moment, they had decided that they were going to, before they even started, they were going to quit. They were going to walk away. They were going to leave. It was too much, overwhelming, whatever. And he walked up to them because he was promoting an organization or something at the university, and he was handing out suckers. And so he interacted with her, and then he made fun of the guy next to her and handed him a sucker and said, give the pretty lady or the beautiful lady beside you a sucker. And like, just kind of like just being himself and doing his thing. 4 years. So he was telling this story because 4 years later, she found him and personally walked up to him and thanked him and said, you didn't know this in that moment, but by you talking to me and making me laugh and interact with the guy next to me, I decided that that's exactly where I wanted to be, and that's what I needed to do. Mm-hmm. And 4 years later, she's still dating the guy that was standing in front of her in line. So this guy doesn't remember this story at all. He says that he's tried to remember it and he doesn't, because he was just doing him, being him, but he connected these two people and did something amazing. And, you know, that's kind of what we're talking about here. Like when you share your stories of your interactions or just being a good person and just sending a personalized message or whatever, like you don't know the impact that you can have on somebody by doing something like that. And we really all want to just impact people, right? Like,
and that's the amazing thing about being a person. You know, so much of what I talk about is, you know, about saying yes to yourself and saying yes to yourself in business. Mm-hmm. And so much is you have so much power. You have so much power. And, you know, something as simple as smiling, smiling at someone as you're walking down the street could save someone's life. That's how powerful you are. Right. And I think that we forget that oftentimes. And that are these personal stories that you're talking about, like whether somebody buys your thing or not, like you can still, whether they like your Facebook post, whether they engage with it, like in that moment, whether nothing happens except they experience you could be saving someone's life. You could be changing someone's life. You could be just showing up as you is the key, because that gives other people permission to show up as themselves. And that as a foundation for relationships is fantastic for your business, because there's something freeing about witnessing someone being themselves, whether it's dressing up as a drag queen, you know, or whether it's, you know, wearing your preppy outfit because you love your preppy outfit. It doesn't matter. Like you being you allows me to be more me in the moment. And you can do that online, and it is extraordinarily powerful.
I love that, Amy. Thank you. We're all sitting here smiling and shaking our heads, and we totally
I mean, it helps it having worked with kids for such a long time. You have to have this faith that, you know, I'm going to show up and be my best self, because I always felt like my best self when I was in front of them, because there's something about being around children just that gives you permission to be yourself. Or it gives some people think they have to be more adulty around kids, and it's not true. But anyway, I had to have this faith that I would put this energy in building these relationships and teaching what they needed to learn and doing it the best that I could. And I had to then let go and say, you know, the rest is up to them. And I had to have faith that the next teacher after them and the next teacher after them and the next adult experiences that they would have would be equally as, you just never know. You rarely have someone coming back and saying, you know what, Miss Bernier, you really made a huge difference in my life. That one day that you listened to me for 10 minutes after class. It's the same thing with business. And it makes such a huge impact. It's because people aren't used to it. And that's the thing that blows my mind, because I come from a teaching background. So this is who I be all the time. Like, there's no on and off switch, business and personal for me. You know, teaching is who I am, and that's how I run my business. And I think that you're constantly, if you just constantly show up as yourself and be in integrity with that, like, really, like, that's the foundation for all of it. Like, your story is important, because as you're telling your story, if your business's story, your personal story, as you're giving people insights, like, you're really just giving people permission to be themselves over and over and over and over again. And TV isn't doing that. Commercials aren't doing that. Yeah. You know, like, show up. It's okay. It's like you're constantly reassuring people that you can do this too. What I'm doing and the success that I'm having and the connection that I'm doing, you know, you can have it too. Whatever that is for your business, for you, it's all interconnected.
You think it's because for years and years and years, all the messaging we're getting from billboards and posters in the bus stop and TV and commercial stuff, it's all stuff that looks like perfection. And so the mere idea that these people are perfect and I'm not perfect just literally like prevents us from actually showing up as who we are.
Well, our brains are programmed to keep us safe, and to our brains, staying the same is safe. You know, so we're constantly looking for rules and guidelines to make our lives safer and more organized. But the thing is, our brain is actually keeping us small, you know? So commercials and things like that play off of the insecurities that we already all have. But we have, in every moment, going back to the mindfulness that Karina was talking about, in every moment we get to choose. Do I believe the story in my brain that's telling me that I'm not good enough, that this TV show or this whatever is telling me that I'm not perfect? Oh, but, you know, I remember Amy's doing, you know, CrossFit, and Tab has chickens in her backyard, and, you know, Karina does this awesome thing, and she's doing, you know, music for video games and branding and things. If they can do these unique things, then what's possible for me too?
Yeah. I love
Does that make sense?
It does. It leads me to a really good question for each and every one of you now. So I feel like after getting to know all of you over the last, you know, few months or whatever of doing these shows and stuff, that each one of us, I feel like, probably had a pivot moment in our life where we decided that we were going to stop being what we thought other people wanted us to be and started being ourselves, and kind of started giving ourselves permission to be us, right? Like falling in line with the same topic that Amy was just talking about. So I want to know what that moment was for each one of you. If you can think of a specific moment, and if everybody needs a few minutes to think, like, you know, I could probably share mine too, but who's got a moment? I like.
Which one?
Probably many, but was there one, I guess, probably when you started to go into business, or even maybe after you've been in business for a while and you realized that doing things the way you thought you were supposed to do them, all of a sudden something switched and you're like, no, I actually just have to be me and I have to do it this way.
I think it is a progression. Like, for me, it's a lot of little moments. But the pivotal thing for me, so I come from a classical music background. I'm a classical pianist, concert pianist, and that culture, you have, you know, it's concert black, curled hair, you look professional on stage. Yeah, right, operatic or whatever. I mean, I was not an opera singer, but I did accompany operatic singers, and so I had to match that facade, right? It's a show. It's a silhouette. It's not the person on the stage. It's the music, right? And you are there to serve the music and all of these things. And so it was forced professionalism is kind of what it felt like. I was being forced to be this professional version of not me. to be on this stage and to play this music and to perform for these people. And it was enjoyable, but I hated putting on the makeup and I hated curling my hair, and I wished I could have worn maybe just a little bit of color, like some purple. It doesn't have to just be concert black or whatever it was, right? All of these things. And there are some musicians out there, some very awesome concert musicians who are starting to push those boundaries now. But when I was doing it, it was just not heard of. And so then when I started getting out of that and started doing my own thing, my own teaching, and then composing, I would go to these events and I would stand in front of my closet and just be terrified that I was going to pick the wrong outfit to go to this event. It didn't matter anymore. I'm not going on stage, but I still felt like I had to be in that facade, that personage of how things were. And I'd be like, okay, is this too formal, or is this too informal, or is this too colorful, or and all of these things. And it was ridiculous. Like, I was having panic attacks over clothes. It was not even the most important thing about this event to go and meet these people, potential clients and network.
What was the moment that finally made you decide, who the fuck cares? I'm grabbing this and wearing this because this is what I like and this is what I'm comfortable in?
So a lot of it was, I was talking to my husband and I was telling him how frustrating it was that people didn't see me professionally. They just saw me as a mom, and they didn't trust that I could do what I was doing because I have kids, or I'm just not professional enough, and all of these things. And he goes, well, I don't think of you as a mom composer. I mean, you are the mom of our children, but you're a composer. Like, why does it matter? You're not a mom composer, you're just a composer. And I was just like, I've been thinking of myself as a mom composer just as these people have been thinking of me like that. And so the next time I went to an event, I like purposefully wore what to me was the most opposite of what I always felt like I needed to wear and how I needed to look. I'm wearing Nightmare Before Christmas right now. I don't know if you can see that. I love Nightmare Before Christmas. And I have this outfit that is like Jack Skellington's pinstripe shirt. And it's kind of like a short dress of it that goes, mid-thigh or whatever. And I wore that with leggings underneath and heels. And that, it's black, but it is like not conservative at all for what my profession used to be. And I was like so nervous to walk into this room. I was so self-conscious, and not one single person mentioned it. No one mentioned my clothes because nobody cares. Nobody cared what I looked like. They cared how I was talking to them. Yeah, and so it was after probably the first 30 minutes of just being nervous about it, I was like, screw it. I am not a mom composer. I am just talking to people, and I love people. I love talking to people. And it was the best event I had ever been to, and I met, those connections that I met at that event have been pivotal for the rest of my business to this point so far, just because I decided to let go. It's fine. I decide that this is how I do what I do, and who cares? And nobody cares. It was amazing. It was an amazing revelation to me that really nobody does care. It was just me that was caring the most.
Awesome.
I just got emotional, as you were telling your story. And I love that you said that, the contacts that you made at that experience, are some of the best that you've ever had. That's not a coincidence, You made a powerful choice and then had powerful results. And I think that that's an important thing for everybody to remember. So thank you for sharing that. That's really powerful.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting thing for me to then go to these other people that I used to perform with and talk to them about, do you have limiting beliefs about this? Because I had limiting beliefs about this, and and being able to talk to people and realize I'm not alone in these beliefs. I'm not alone in feeling constrained to how, this little picture perfect circle, this is what I need to fit into, when really I'm an octagon or whatever. I don't need to fit in that circle. And
it's hard to put awesome into a box.
Right. I'm not the only one who feels that way. I can't be. And so when we share these stories and when we talk to people about how they feel about it, because we've given ourselves permission to be our own shape, be our own color, whatever it is, we allow other people to recognize that they have that choice too, and give them the permission to see the power that Amy was talking about, because I really do believe that everybody has the power in them to shine the light that they have, and every person's light is different. That's why each person's story is so important. And so I've really enjoyed talking to other people about their limiting beliefs with our past profession, with concert music and performing, because it is so, like, it was such what you had to do. And now you see these performers like Lang Lang, who wore, I think he wore a bright green suit at his last concert in front of 2,000 people, which was unheard of. A bright green suit on stage as a concert pianist. Like, nobody does that. But it's fine to do that, because this is what interests people, is when they see real people and not just what you think people need, like, expect to see of you. And we see all the time in social media when somebody says, here's my blemishes, or here's my imperfections, and I've been having a hard time with this. We applaud them and we get so excited to see that, and then we're scared to show people our side.
Isn't that crazy?
But we don't need to be, because we can assume that if we are applauding those people, that there are other people on the other side waiting to applaud us, to see who we really are.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Karina. Amy, do you have like a pivotal moment where you decided that you wanted to be the square peg in a round hole?
Yeah, I've been trying to fit myself into a box my whole life, actually. My company is called Say Yes Coaching, and it's kind of a play on, what my life used to be like versus what my life is like now. And I'm a recovering people pleaser, overachiever, perfectionist right here. And, I grew up, wanting to get straight A's and wanting to look like everyone else and wanting to be like everybody else. I didn't want to stand out. I wanted to achieve. And I thought in order to do that, you had to play sports and do drama and do all the things. Like, I did all the things.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm an all the things kind of person. But the underlying belief system was that I had to be like everyone else in order to be accepted, in order to be liked, in order to be successful, honestly. And so I really built a life around that, and really good at making other people happy, seeing what people need and then giving it to them, and, being easygoing. Like, I'll do posts about this all the time. Like, I thought I was being easygoing. I thought I was being nice to be around. But I was always giving away my power to other people. I was saying, oh, whatever movie you want to watch is fine with me. Like, I love all movies, or whatever kind of restaurant you want, that's cool. Like, and I was teaching as well. And that's a profession in which, you work in a box, and then you have a classroom that's a box, and then you are, oftentimes needing kids to learn certain things and put them in a box, and at the same time acknowledge that they're all different. It's like this very complex thing. And so basically what happened was, there came a point when I was teaching in the inner city, and I was, giving my power away and trying to make other people happy, my bosses, my coworkers, my friends, my boyfriend, my, housemates, and I just couldn't take it anymore. Like, I literally, my physical body was like, we've given you panic attacks. We've given you anxiety. We've given you depression. We've given you ADHD. We've given you physical injuries, small physical injuries, to kind of like try to snap you out of this way of being that's actually extremely harmful for you. And then one day I, started having a back pain, electricity going down my leg, having sciatic pain. And I found out I had a herniated L4 and L5, and slowly but surely it was getting worse and worse until I couldn't walk. And for me, that was, I was physically forced, by my own choices, because it was caused by stress. I wasn't in a car accident, and I didn't fall down, like nothing like that happened. My back started hurting so badly that I was not able to say yes to other people anymore. I was not able to say yes to my boss, or say yes to my students, or say yes to my friends, or say yes to my boyfriend. I had to say no to everybody else and start taking care of myself. So that was about 5 or 6 years ago that kind of journey of saying yes to myself began. And I actually had to start asking myself, what do I want? You know, and I was forced to really reflect on, you know, how I lived my life up till that point and how I wanted to choose from here on out, and realizing that I had a choice. Mm-hmm. So going through this layers of kind of like conditioning that I've had, you know, most of my life was always telling me that I need to blend in and I need to be like that person. I need to be like that person. And I've always known it, but I wasn't forced to take action on it until I was in extreme pain. That if I'm to be truly myself, I'll never fit in any one place. Like I'm actually a connector. I'm meant to do all of these different kinds of things and bring communities of people together. You know, and then I wasn't following through on that. So I had experiences under which those circumstances I had no choice yet to choose myself. And then it just turned into a lifestyle. You know, I went from being a passive person to, you know, practicing saying what I needed and what I wanted, and getting to the point where I own my own business in order to help empower people in their businesses and in their lives in such a way where, you know, people are saying yes to them because they're showing up in their businesses themselves and because they're using their ability to communicate as themselves with their ideal client. So in this like odd way, like this huge, one might say horrible pain experience that I had for years was actually the biggest gift, because I was forced to choose and actually be myself.
Awesome.
So for me, that's how all of this started, how the person that you see now in front of you, you know, has come to be.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that too.
So what movie do you want to watch, Amy?
All of them. I love movies so much.
The answer's the same. Whatever you want to watch, I love all movies.
Well, and that was the thing, is like in me being easygoing, I wasn't not being true to myself. But what happens is then I ended up setting up relationship dynamics where I was always expected to be the yes person. Mm-hmm. And what I found is when I started shifting to really like having an opinion and really like, you know, I have always had opinions about like things that I felt very strongly about how you treat people and things like that. But I wasn't walking the walk for myself, you know? And what happened is as I was starting to become more independent of myself, you know, and with myself, people thought I was different. You know, people were like, you're different, you're changed, and, you know, all this stuff. And the truth of the matter was, it was like, no, I was just not letting you be the boss of me anymore. And that's why I also think that's something that's important to keep in mind when you're building relationships with your clients, is you can't be that yes person, because that's a dynamic that will never, you've just set it up that way, and it will never go away, and it will turn into something that you didn't intend it to be. You had like positive intentions, and it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. Like, it's important to show up as who you really are. And have an opinion and have good boundaries.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, before we wrap things up, I really want to hear Tabitha's story.
So I have always been a very confident person. My problem is not having that already. It's not letting everybody else drag you into whatever pit they want to throw you into. So my parents also were very awesome, and they protected me from a lot. And I was homeschooled, so I didn't understand the whole, you need to look like this and you need to sound like this and talk like this, until I was in junior high and went away to camp. So my problem is, and I want to make this pretty clear, there are people out there who want you to dress and look and be a certain way, and they will treat you differently because you don't look like that or you don't say like that. Like, I'm a plus size woman. I've had so many problems in business with people not taking me seriously because I'm plus size. It's like, I do the work. I do the same work everybody else does.
Right.
You know, but there's a perception. So my problem has always been not having that perception drag me into like, oh my gosh, I can never have a great business because I'm not plus size. Maybe I need to, whatever, change my life. And then I'm like, F that. I'm just going to be me. I'm going to do me. I'm going to be healthy and happy and not dragged into your perception of me. So that positive indifference that Amy brought up earlier of like, there's going to be people that don't like us and don't want us in their lives and who will make life hellish for us if they have to work with us. And that's okay. Like, there's people that I don't like either, and they don't need to be in my life.
Right.
So just that constant reminding, like that's my turning point, is always finding. I get very depressed and I get very anxiety and I get very opposite of who I am. And this last time my husband was like, you're fading, is how he described it. And I'm like, oh, I know what's going on. And so I quit my job and I started my own business because, you know, I was getting trapped in that, trying to be like everybody else instead of being me. I have a really strong personality and people either really love me or they really, really hate me. And it's always really funny because there's like people that 15 years ago decided they hate me and they still hate me. And every once in a while I hear about them and I'm just like, I totally forgot that person existed.
And the fact of the matter is, like, then therefore you get to attract more people that like you. You know, those people that don't like you can stay away and then you don't even remember their name.
Yeah.
And then, like, you're front and center and all the people that are drawn to you and love you can be like, there she is. That's the person I want to spend time with.
Yeah.
And I want to give her money.
Yeah. And I remember like going to I was at a convention and I spoke on a bunch of panels and there's people there that I've known for 15 years because of podcasting. And even though we barely talk, but they still know enough about my life where they were coming up and asking questions. And it's like, this is, you know, when I'm me, this is what happens. People care enough where maybe they're not posting and commenting and liking on my stuff, but they follow my life enough where they come up to me and go, oh, how's your son? How's your husband? How's married life? You know, stuff like that. It's really, really powerful when you show up as yourself and keep being yourself. The point that when you guys were talking about how, you know, you never know if that one smile or that one post or that one whatever can change someone's life. There was a lady that started a Tumblr who was plus size and did cosplay, and she posted pictures of everybody who was plus size and was cosplaying. And for those who don't know, it's like dressing up as characters and costumes. And I was like, I never thought about doing it because I was like, people will get mad or upset or whatever. And then I saw all these gorgeous ladies in these beautiful costumes. I'm like, I can do that too. So you never know. You could change somebody's life and make them better just because of one random thing you put up on the internet.
Well, and I think that a lot of the times when we're telling our stories, we don't think about how it will affect other people. We're doing it, and hopefully we're doing it. Hopefully we're doing it because it is important to us and it helps us find more joy and satisfaction in our lives. And then the benefit of it is that it does attract those people and it helps them realize that they have that choice too, right? Like how Amy had to realize that she had a choice. And I really resonated with everything that both of you said, where I feel like I've had experiences just like that in my life. And realizing that you have a choice and then helping other people realize that is just such a blessing to be able to work with people to do that. Like, this world would be so boring if we were all the same, and it would be so boring if we were in this world all by ourselves without being able to interact with people.
Yeah, I agree.
Even those poor crying babies.
Well, it's one thing to say, like, you have a choice, right? Like, Amy, somebody could have said, Amy, you have a choice. You don't have to stay at that job. Amy, you have a choice. You don't have to do those things. But, like, when you're in those situations where you don't feel like a choice, you do not see a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So someone telling you that there's a choice isn't really helpful. But if you say, there was this one time, you know, that I was in a job. Like, this happened to me 2 weeks ago. I did a gong meditation, and one of the women there is a teacher, and she was like, I just resigned from my teaching job. And I said, oh girl, that was me 2 years ago. And, you know, what questions did you have? Like, what are you afraid of? Like, let me tell you, it's going to be okay. Let me tell you a little bit about my life. If you can illustrate to people that there is life after teaching, there is life after back pain, there is life after, you know, like not eating healthy or whatever it happens to be. Like I could tell you about like losing a ton of weight and starting CrossFit. I could tell you about leaving my job and, you know, starting my business. Like all of these stories can connect to what somebody's going through. So that story of me saying and allowing that person to go, oh my gosh, I see it now. I see like through your story and your experience, it not being my own, I can see that it's possible. You might just be even like opening the door just a little tiny bit and letting a little bit of light shine in. Mm-hmm. Like, is it possible that I too have a choice? Mm-hmm. And because people don't like to be told what to do, right? Like, don't tell me what to do. I'll do the opposite because you just tried to tell me what to do because I'm just a rebel now. Like, no one tells me Bernier what to do, you know? Like, I've gone to the extreme, you guys.
Yeah, but if somebody tell you to shut up.
But if somebody tells me a story and in my brain I can relate to that, then it's opening the door it's really opening the door because it's my own idea. It's a connection I made on my own.
Right.
So that's just, and that just ties back to how storytelling and sharing in that way really gives people the opportunity to make connections. You're giving them like all of the pieces for them to put the puzzle together on their own. And then when they put the puzzle together on their own, they're like, oh my God, I just put this puzzle together. It's so fucking cool. And you're like, really tell me about that puzzle.
Because it's their idea. They're so much more committed and emotionally involved in it because it was their idea. You know,
totally.
On a side note, this is kind of how it's like what it's like having a boyfriend or a husband or kids. Like, you got to make them think it's their idea before they commit and actually do it.
Well, even like just understanding why. So I know with my kid, it helps a lot to tell him why. So please pick up your toys because your dad is going to fall. Like,
he's not in middle school yet, is he?
No.
Okay, just wait.
Yes. Well,
rational thinking starts to dissipate around 7th grade.
But abstract thinking starts, so I'm excited about that.
But then
But then being able to then find those reasons to celebrate with that person is also really wonderful. And being able to find those moments to celebrate with yourself. Like, when I wore that outfit that I didn't think I was allowed to wear or whatever, celebrating that. For me, it was a big moment. For anyone else, like, my husband was like, woo, you put clothes on. Like, yeah. But for me, it's a big moment. So finding those things, both big and small, and celebrating them purposefully, on purpose, just like we on purpose want to show gratitude to the people who are being loyal with us and going with us on these journeys of ours. That needs to be a purposeful thing. So does celebrations, and so does all of the recognition of what makes this world beautiful. When we show our differences, that makes this world beautiful. And these choices need to be a conscious effort because the choice is always there, but we don't always act on it and we don't always recognize it because we're not making a point to make it a part of our daily practices. But it's always there.
There's a music composer in your house too.
I think I'm getting one of my pie pans or something.
You're in training. Well, ladies, I could keep talking and we could keep sharing stories and talking all friggin' day, but for many of us have things that we need to get back to doing and stuff. So I just want to personally thank each and every one of you for taking your time today to kind of have this like fun. You didn't know it, but this is somewhat of a celebratory episode for me too. I said last week it was episode 10, but it was actually only episode 9. This is episode 10.
Yay!
Double digits. I've met so many great people and love the discussions that are happening here, and I hope that are watching also enjoy it too. And we can keep doing this. I think sitting down, having coffee, and just talking about things that are important to us is a great way for us all to share.
Thanks, Brooke.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
If anybody doesn't have anything to add, or if there's no questions, there's people watching live, but I think we've just been so fucking entertaining. But there's like no comments coming in. I think some of the stuff we went into today was kind of deep, so I honor the fact that you guys have all opened up and shared your stories. And yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, lovely.
Bye.
We'll stay in touch, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for coming on in here and joining me today for this special episode of Creative Coffee Cafe. And if anybody has any questions that they want to ask any of my guests today, feel free to comment below. They're a part of this too, and we'll make sure we get them answered. And again, just a friendly reminder, if you enjoy these Creative Coffee Cafe episodes on Thursdays at noon Central Standard Time, let me know. Make sure you click the reminder button so that you get notified when we go live, so that you can be here and be a part of the conversation as well. So until next time, I thank you again for your time, and I will see you again next week. Bye for now.